welcome to Movement Not Miracles. A little bit later than normal today. Hopefully you all saw the message on the group. So, as we say, better late than never. Movement Not Miracles is your bite-sized version of ideas to keep your joints moving, stretch through some of those muscles and look after your posture, hopefully ward off some of those aches and pains that we can get from joints and muscles stiffening up too much. I'm Anna from Eat, Move, Be Happy, and Eat, Move, Be Happy is all about giving you ideas to be healthier and feel happier. So check out the website for some other online coaching ideas around eating and exercise habits and looking after your general health and well-being and your mental health and well-being. I'm just going to flick my camera because it's telling me in low battery mode. Hopefully it's going to last for the whole of this session. So from head to toes today, a bit of an all-over mobility and stretch, just so that hopefully everything feels a little bit more spacious and a bit more mobile when we finish. So starting with our neck and shoulders, so you can do these seated or standing. Make sure you have your weight evenly distributed. So to start off with, think of standing or sitting nice and tall, up out of your pelvis. So we're not sort of slumped down into the floor. We're standing nice and tall, shoulders back and down. And to start off with, we're just going to work on getting that neck moving. But the base is really important. So your start point, think about that. Because if you're starting from a slumped down position, you're not going to get the same movement through the joints. So just to encourage that neck, because you can get some tension through the base of your skull and into your neck. So just looking over each shoulder, and then just let your head drop to the floor, chin to chest, and then look back up. Just some gentle movement, don't force through any of these moves. And then shrugging your shoulders and letting them drop to the floor. Clearly not all the way to the floor, but just shrugging them up to your ears and then letting them drop. Again, we can get a lot of tension through the top of our shoulders and into the base of our neck. So just encouraging that to release is good. And then into a shoulder roll. So shoulders come up and back and down. And think about your shoulder blades on your back chest. They should be moving. So they should be moving out and then really squeezing together as you broaden across your chest. If I show you from behind, you should see the writing on my t-shirt moving. So as you come back and round, they're really squeezing together now. Hopefully the writing's squished together. But as you come forwards, they broaden and the material should be stretched. So we're aiming to get as much movement through those shoulder blades as you can. Your shoulder blades should move on your back. And then you can introduce the elbows and then the arms. So the bigger the move, the better. And if you can, just moving away from the wall, aiming for your arms to go back behind your ears. Now, my shoulders are not that flexible, so getting my arms straight and back is a little bit difficult. And when you're doing that, particularly if you're standing, try not to let your bum stick out and your back arch. So we're trying to keep your lower back tucked under, so your pelvis tucked under, and trying to keep that all stable to look after that lower back. And so that you get the movement through the shoulders and the upper back rather than that happening. So we don't want your ribs sticking out, we don't want your bum sticking out. So we'll just do a couple more of those. Shoulder rolls are a really good way of getting the muscles in your upper back to waken up and strengthen them, but also to get some space across the front of your chest through your collarbones and to get your shoulder blades moving, which is brilliant for your posture. So we tend to be quite round-shouldered, and our shoulders should be back and down. Okay, so we're going to do a stretch across the front of our shoulders now. So if you take one arm behind your back and pulling that arm so that you feel some stretch through the front here, but supporting the arm with your other hand. So it will look like this from behind. So just supporting my right arm, which is the one that's stretching, and then think of shoulders back and down and trying to squeeze those shoulder blades together. And again, you can do this seated or standing, making sure that your base is really solid and balanced. If you are sitting down, make sure you're sitting away from the edge of the back of the chair. So you're not relying on the back of the chair to support your body sitting upright. Okay, we'll release that bit of a tactical waggle, and then the same on the other side. So this time my left arm, shoulder back and down, arm behind. So I'm trying to get my arm as far behind as you possibly can, and then supporting that arm with the other hand, and think of shoulders back and down, and I stretch through the front of that shoulder. And just try and relax everything else. And breathe. Don't forget the breathing. Okay, another tactical waggle, and then we're going to take that into a stretch across the chest. Easy for you to say. So both hands behind your back, clasping them into the base of your back. And what we're aiming to do here, again, sitting or standing tall, shoulders back and down without letting your bum stick out, and really stretch. Think of squeezing those shoulder blades together and taking your shoulders as far apart as possible, and you should feel, now I can feel this stretch across the front of my chest, but also into the front of my shoulders, and it's just in a slightly different place than it was before, so that's fine. And just a couple of nice breaths whilst you're here. Okay, tactical waggle. Now we're going to take this into some movement for our back. So side bends to start off with. So again, I'm just going to widen my stance a little bit. It just helps me access more of my side bend move. Again, you can do these seated or standing, as long as you are sitting nice and tall or standing nice and tall. And to start off with, we're just going to move down to one side, reaching that arm down as far as you can go. So we're aiming for movement and controlled movement, so we're not flinging our body around. So think of, can you actually feel where the movement is coming from? And control through all of your muscles through the side. You're going to feel a little bit of a stretch through your side, and we're going to increase that in a second. But our spine, our vertebrae should move. So keeping them moving is a good way of looking after our posture, and also stopping your back from stiffening up, which can cause some of those aches and pains that we can get. Right, I'm going to introduce a bigger stretch now. So if you stretch up with one arm, and then still down with the other arm and over. So you're going to increase the stretch down this side. And then we'll do that again. Really stretching away from your body. So you're reaching over. I think of sticking that hip one way and the armpit the other. And the same on this side, a nice big stretch up and reaching over. Now we're going to do that again, but this time we're going to stabilise our lower back. And if you put your hands behind your head, and we're still going to do that side bend move, but we're aiming for just in the upper back. So if we stabilise our mid and lower spine, working through your tummy and working through your glutes. So if you feel your tummy muscles, they should be contracting, and your glutes should be working to keep your hips still. It doesn't matter if you do more of a side bend, but we're trying to aim, I'm aiming now for some more movement in that upper back, which is the bit that can stiffen up a bit more. It isn't designed to move as much as your mid and lower thoracic, lower spinal regions. It isn't. It is stiffer, your upper thoracic, but it should still move. Okay. Bit of a tactical shoulder waggle. I'm going to take that into a twist now. So you can do this seated again. We're going to move to start off with. Just go for some movement. So just twisting from one side to the other, aiming to bring your chest as far round. I find it easier to look where I'm twisting, but aiming to bring, it's not just arms moving, we're actually trying to bring our whole chest round so that you're twisting through that spine. And then we're going to take it and just hold. See if you can get a tiny bit more of a twist. And at the same time, try and keep this hip back. So almost as if you're wringing your body out, like wringing a towel. So you're trying to keep this part of your body stable and move through the top part. And again, this is a really simple move that you can do throughout the day and just helps keep your back moving and stops it stiffening up. Okay, and just a couple of moves now for our hips, particularly if you spend a lot of time sitting, then your hips can get stuck in this position. If you imagine I'm sitting on a chair, so we end up with our hips in this position, and our hip flexors can tighten up. So just to encourage a bit more movement through the hips, again, you can do this seated. So lifting, staying sitting nice and tall or standing nice and tall, and just lift your knee up towards your chest. If you've got dodgy knees, hold underneath the knee on the base of the thigh. And think of lifting your knee to your chest rather than taking your chest to your knee. So you're just encouraging that hip to move beyond that position, which is where it would normally be if we're sitting. So we're just going to lift up. Oh, and you can just wiggle your ankles a little bit as well whilst you're here. If you're doing this standing, it's quite good work on that stabilising leg and ankle, because that's having to work to keep you, oh, a bit of a crick and a crack on the ankle. And once more on this side. Ooh, bit of a wobble there. And then a nice simple lifting your knee up and taking your hip out to the side, just to encourage that hip joint to move through a wider range of movement, because it should. So again, it's nice and relaxed through the rest of the body. And then I'm going to sit on my, whoops, falling over my brick. I'm going to sit on my blocks just because it saves messing around with a chair. But if you are sitting, if you have a chair handy, if you lift one foot, one ankle onto the top of your thigh and just encourage that hip to drop down to the floor. Hip, knee to drop down to the floor. So don't force it, but you should feel a stretch in the outside of your hip now. So you can just lean on that knee with your elbow, again sitting nice and tall. Encourage that outer hip to stretch. And the same on the other side. Just just gently encourage that hip to move down. My hips are not very flexible, particularly in this rotation. You should feel a stretch in the outside of your hip. Okay, so head to toe, some fairly simple but very effective moves to help you keep your neck, shoulders, upper back, hips a little bit more awake and a little less stiff. And you can do variations of any of those throughout the day. Doing something little and often is quite a good idea to stop you stiffening up. And doing a little bit more of a stretch every day is a good thing to aim for. Don't forget to check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com for other ideas around shifting eating habits, exercise habits, looking after your mental health and well-being, and let us know on the peer support group. The Eat Move Be Happy is an awful lot more than the peer support group. That's one part of it, but let us know through the group if there's anything else on a Movement Not Miracles perspective that you would like me to cover. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of this rather sunny day, and I will see you tomorrow, back at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Have fun. Thank you.